my business, and absolutely, I want to buy a home and have a warm family.
Fantastic. Excellent. Thank you. And the country you're from?
Iran.
Iran, of course. That's a country from your name is. I mean, we can guess now the names. And who else is? We'll wait for a couple of more minutes. Um, who else is here with us? Akanksha, you're here with us. Rafia Khan, Victoria, please say hello to us. Tell us which country are you from, and what we can do to help you guys to achieve your Canadian dream.
Hi everyone, I am Rafia. Well, I am a new permanent resident here in Canada. It's been less than a year that I came here. I'm currently employed in a part-time job, and I found out this about this program from Eventbrite, and I found this really interesting because as a newcomer, I have zero idea about the requirements to get mortgage in Canada. And I do have dreams of having my own home one day. So
Yes.
I really want to dig deep into what are the requirements that I would need to fulfill to be eligible to have a home mortgage. So this is the reason I'm here.
Excellent. I mean, I think we're in the right. You're definitely in the right place.
Yeah.
And we'll start. We'll get people to join in a bit. I see that a bunch of people are coming, but would you be able to let them in from your end, um, Oksana? Or
Yeah,
are you the
I want
host
to.
right now at the event? Or myself.
Uh,
Anyways, I think that we should start. We have 25 participants right now, so we're good to go. And the rest, I'll make sure I'm letting them in when they're coming in. Is anybody wants to say greet us, give us maybe a little bit of gratitude. We always love to start our events with gratitude exercise. I know
Oh,
Olainka is here. Maybe Olainka, you can help us to express gratitude today for the most important things in life that we have in Canada: peace and health and opportunities. And anybody else who wants to say, Olainka and Nima, please give us a little bit of words of gratitude. Thank you before
okay.
we start. Nima, you go. Nima, you go.
Okay, to start with, I'm grateful for the community that IWB is creating. It is fantastic. And I keep saying it to everybody. I have never thought that I'll come across an organization that does this. I'm grateful for the gift of life, for the gift of having a roof over my head. I'm grateful for the gift of everything, really, and Svetlana with her smile and energy.
Good for you, Nima. Thank you so much. And Olainka, please.
And she said she's in a noisy place.
Oh, she's in a noisy place. She's partying again. Those Nigerians, they always party. What are we going to do with them? And we're going to start our webinar. We'd like to thank Oksana, who is leading our webinar. She's Halyuk. She's originally from Ukraine. She's IWB
I
founding
wanted to
member.
call, but they didn't call me.
Okay, we'll mute somebody here. Can you mute people from your end? Thank you so much, Oksana. So she's our founding member. Very impressive leadership skills Oksana has. Very driven, very intelligent, very clever, very high speed. That's very really. It's an excellent match for the leader of that high caliber to immigrant women in business. We believe that leadership is almost everything, right? Everything starts with the leader. Good to have an idea, good to have the mortgage, but really who is going to educate you and make things happen for you? Because everything is kind of there, but we know that a lot of newcomers, they struggle to integrate, including getting their first home. And without further ado, we'll get Oksana to start this beautiful webinar about mortgages for newcomers.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Svetlana. And hi, everybody. Thank you for all the introductions. Really nice to see so many people interested in mortgages. That's really exciting. And I hope that the information that I'm going to share today is going to be helpful. And if you have any questions beyond that, there will be my contact info. So you're very much welcome to follow up and let me know if you have questions. So I'm not going to go into presentation mode just because I find it easier and more informal to jump from slide to slide if anybody has questions. So I'm just going to keep it informal. So a few words about myself. Like Svetlana mentioned, I'm Ukrainian. I moved to Canada less than 10 years ago. So it's not 1 year, it's not 7 months, but it's still fairly fresh. It's under a decade. I am a licensed mortgage agent, level 1, and that's why I can talk to you about mortgages today. And I am also with IWB, obviously. Love IWB. I think one of the most wonderful organizations and communities that is currently working with newcomers and with women. And I am a financial empowerment mentor. So beyond just helping people with mortgages, I also help with information in Ukrainian and in English about credit scores, about buying a vehicle if somebody needs a vehicle, because I have been in automotive industry for quite a while. So really lots of things that I can potentially help you with when it comes to financial side of things. Today, what I want to touch upon, and really mortgages is such a huge area, and there are so many things. I can talk to you for hours and hours, but you probably will get bored. So I'm just going to focus on a few main things. So what is mortgage? Just overall, people who come, like I came from Ukraine, I did not know anything about mortgages. Like that was I knew nothing about credit cards. So what can you say about mortgages? Mortgage process and Canada, mortgage for newcomers. So something that affects you very directly. Alternative mortgage options. There are a lot of people who maybe cannot qualify and cannot buy under, let's call them normal conditions and requirements, but there are other ways as well that you can own a home. And we can talk about where to start, and at the end you can ask me questions if you have any. So I'm just going to find my mouse. So mortgages, why mortgages? Because unless you have $500,000 somewhere stashed under the mattress, and good for you if you do, you cannot really buy for cash. Like it's the reality of Canada, especially Ontario, especially Toronto, especially core GTA Toronto. So we're like narrowing down. So really most people, if they want to own, and it doesn't have to be a house, even a condo, if you want to own something, you have to get a mortgage. It's really because of the prices. But the beauty of it is that the industry is very regulated, very clear overall what the laws are. So yes, they are complex to navigate and you have to understand what you're doing, but they're there. So everybody understands the responsibility that they have, and everybody who's licensed in mortgages, like we have exams that we have to take and reliable for a lot of things. So it's not just me, putting on a piece of paper that I'm a mortgage agent. There is actually a lot of regulation that goes into that from various government levels. So that's, for me personally, I think that's good news because it gives you a peace of mind. And really why I want to talk to you about mortgages, because all of these words that are on the slide right now, they are somehow related to mortgages. So if you read the news, you can see insured, uninsurable versus insurable mortgages. What is that? Conventional and high ratio mortgages. What's the difference? Owner occupied or rental, that's easier, but still. Amortization options. There is a lot of stuff on the news, and I will touch upon the news, like what is amortization? What's the difference between amortization and term? What's 25 years, 5 years? A lot of people don't understand. Fixed and variable rates. Again, a lot of things on the news, and it's important to understand the difference. A lenders versus B lenders versus private lenders. Mortgage requirements, income, down payment, stress test. What is stress test? Credit scores, ratios, prepayments. So once you even get a mortgage, can you prepay it in advance? What are the penalties? What are the opportunities? So all of these things, and this is just some of them, okay? This is not all of them, but this is the environment that we are in when it comes to mortgages. So I can promise you that I'm not gonna show you like and explain to you every single thing that's on the slide right now, because again, it's gonna take a long time. And at the end of the day, it's not gonna benefit you because it's not about that. I just wanna sort of explain to you and immerse you a little bit in the world where all of these things sort of have to live together somehow. And not only that, but the news. So this is not even, I mean, this is July, August, a little bit of September, October. This is like 4 months worth of news. And even during that time, so we had the new, the stress test that does not qualify for renewals, that you don't have to do. We have the 30-year amortization that the government did first for newcomers and new builds, and now sort of separately. We have the refinancing program that a lot of people are talking about. We have the Bank of Canada rate cut. So all of this is constantly being pumped on the news. And this is, so again, the idea is not, I'm like not trying to scare you or anything. I'm just giving you an overview of what the industry looks like today, because the housing market is so complicated. And especially in Toronto, it's really hard to get a home because of prices and everything. The government is trying so many different things at the same time, sometimes conflicting with each other. And sometimes we have rules, for example, that are supposed to start working on December 15th.
Recording in progress.
Oh, we have somebody was an echo. So we have some rules that are supposed to start December 15th, but nobody knows what they will really look like, even though it's like 3 weeks away. So all of this is happening. And what I'm sort of trying to get to is that the environment is very complicated. So it's important to work with a licensed professional. And in this case, don't take it as me saying I'm the only mortgage agent in this universe and you should all come to me. I mean, you are welcome to, but just make sure that you work with a professional that you trust. And the reason, so there are really two kinds of mortgage professionals, like very high level. There are people who work for the bank. So these are when you come to TD or CIBC or Scotia, these are people who work at the bank. And then there are mortgage agents, mortgage brokers. And the difference between the two is that people who work at the bank, they work for the bank, which means that they have their sales targets, which means that they only have access to that specific. So if somebody works for TD, they only have access to TD rates. Or if somebody works for CIBC, that's pretty much all they have access to. Mortgage agents exist outside of that. So for example, in my brokerage, we have access to like 40, 50 different lenders. So like banks, credit unions, different sorts of lenders of different types, which means that when somebody comes and says, I need a mortgage, it's not just, here's what we have, let's make it work. It's more so, here's all the options we have. Let's pick the one that actually works for you. And that can help with lower rates, and that can help with just fitting the scenario. Because there are a lot of, banks are highly regulated, so there are things they cannot do. So if you have a really low credit score, or if you had a bankruptcy, or if you have a lot of debt, even if you have a lot of income, but your debt ratios are not good, it means banks possibly might not be able to give you the mortgage. So you might have to find a different solution. Plus, the benefit of working with the mortgage agent like myself is the fact that it's easy. Like, we don't have to meet in person. Like, we can do all of that online. We can do all the documents online. We can do Zoom meetings. Like, it's very, very straightforward. And help after closing as well. Like, you're probably not going to call your branch person and be like, hey, how do I pay my property taxes? I have clients calling me and asking me, like, what is property tax and how do I pay it? So all of that just to say that any of these I'm happy to do for you. So feel free to sort of let me know. On to the high-level home buying process. So if you have never bought a house in Canada or a condo in Canada, chances are you don't really know how it works, and that's normal. So a lot of times, most times, it starts with a mortgage pre-approval. And what is mortgage pre-approval? It's an assessment that's being done that tells you how much money you can get in mortgages. So which means that how much money you can qualify for. Or in other words, what is the price of the home you can buy? Because your price of the home will consist of two things. It's how much money you already have and how much money you can afford. So combine the two, you get your home price. And how much money you can afford, you probably want to know before you start buying, before you start looking. So that's why mortgage pre-approval is one of the first things you want to do. There are realtors who would not even work with you until you bring them a piece of paper and say, here's how much I qualify for, because really for them, it might be a wasted opportunity. And sometimes I have people calling and saying, hey, I want to buy something for $700, 700,000. And then we look at their budget and really it can be only 500,000, which is still a good number. You can still buy like a place in Toronto for that money. It's just really good to know. And there are two ways to look at mortgage pre-approvals. So there are all of these advertisements that you can see online that say, we're going to qualify you in 60 seconds. Good for them. They are going on the website to tell you that, yes, so you're going to answer a few questions and they're going to tell you, yes, you qualify on the website. But what happens is that nobody looks at your documents, which means that on the, like, whatever they say on the website, it's really just a message. So, and it's not that it has to be binding. It's not even that. It's just the fact that you tell them what income you have, you tell them what liability you have, but they don't check it. And you don't necessarily know what you need to check for. So what you really want, especially if you're buying for the first time, because I've seen these things, you want to make sure that before you buy, somebody actually looks at your documents. So you have to show your income, you have to show your IDs, you have to show, like, we will have to pull your credit score to see what liabilities you have, whether you're buying a loan or with a spouse. So all of that, yes, it will take extra time. It's not going to be 60 seconds. It's going to be 3-4 days, maybe a week if it's a very complicated situation. It's probably not going to be more than that. Usually it's like 2-3 days and done. But you will know, and this will come with like a official paper sort of thing that says, if these conditions are true and everything, we can qualify you for this amount of money at this, for example, at this rate. So I would suggest when you start looking, A, have your mortgage pre-approval, and B, understand who you're getting it from. So that later there are no surprises, because if you start shopping, you think you can afford 700,000, and then we are like, this is the time to get a mortgage, and the bank says, oh, sorry, like this is like, we cannot do that. That's a problem. So that's the first step. That's all me talking about that first step. Once you have that mortgage pre-approval, you want to start looking for your home. And this is when you get in touch with the realtor, and this is when you do a lot of driving around and you try to make sure that you find a home that fits. And for a lot of people, it takes 6 months, sometimes a year, because deals fall through and it's a complicated process. So if you're doing it for the first time, just do this and just be ready. Just be ready that it's going to take time, but it's going to be worth it. Like, that's, at the end of the day, it's going to be worth it. So once you found the home that you really like, you're going to put in an offer. This is something that the realtor will do for you, well, with you, really. So you will, with realtor, you will decide that, for example, this home costs 500,000. I'm going to offer 495,000 for this home. I'm going to put it into the document and send it to the person who's selling, and then that person has to accept it. So that's the offer. And something you have to keep in mind, and any good realtor will tell you, you have to have what is called a financing condition. A financing condition in the offer means that you say, I am willing to pay $495,000 if I get a mortgage. If I do not get a mortgage, then this offer is not valid. So the reason you want to do that is because you're protecting yourself. Because if you don't put it there, and the seller accepts your offer, and then you cannot get a mortgage, you're on the hook. Like, that's official document. So you want to do, and usually there is a limit of days. So usually it says you have to, like, I'm going to be able to secure financing within, and recently was the market what it is for condos. I've even seen it like for a few weeks. So within that time, we work on the mortgage documents and make sure that you can actually get that mortgage, and then you waive this condition, which means that once you get a confirmation from the mortgage person that yes, you can actually get the mortgage for this amount, you tell the seller that's okay, condition has been met, that's the final offer. Once the seller accepts your offer, that's when we finalize your documents. So we send everything to the lender. We make sure that all the additional, because sometimes banks or somebody else, they can have requests for additional documents. They might want to see more of your finances. They want to see your bank statements. It depends what they want. So we send them everything. They say, yes, everything is good. And then everything moves to the lawyer. So the lawyer is the magic person in the process. In Ukraine, lawyers are less, I think, in my experience, less of a part of the process. In Canada, they're very big parts. So you would have your realtor, your mortgage person, and your lawyer as three core parts of the process, because the lawyer is who actually gives you the keys. It's not the seller. It's you come to the lawyer's office, you sign all the documents, you pay your additional payments, whatever you need to pay, and we'll talk about it. And that's when the lawyer gives you the keys. So that's sort of the final process. And once you have the key, that's when the place is actually yours, because that's sort of closing of the transaction. So when it comes to mortgages for newcomers, there is a special program, and the reason that it exists is because everybody understands that in many countries, like Ukraine, you don't really have something like a credit score. Like there is credit information that you can get with credit score. It's or credit history, and this is not something you can get from Equifax. So there is a special program that says that if you are legally in Canada, if you have, like, the only thing is that you cannot be a refugee. So for refugees, unfortunately, and asylum seekers, unfortunately, this program does not apply. So you have to be a citizen, a permanent resident. There is a caveat with people who are on work permits. So if you're on work permit, you have to talk to a lawyer, because there is a speculation tax, which is basically if you're not a resident or citizen, you might need to pay like a lot of taxes, and I'm talking like 30% in taxes. So you don't want to do that. So you need to talk to a lawyer if you're not a permanent resident or citizen. But other than that, so if you're in Canada for less than 5 years, if you have had permanent employment for 3 months, and if you're buying a home right now under 1 million, you can apply for this. Well, we can apply on your behalf through this program. And the benefit is that you don't have a good credit score or a credit history, but we can use other information under this program. Like you can show us, for example, you can send your hydro bills, or you can send some other things that you have been paying on time. And really what that proves to the bank or to a lender is that you are reliable, because look at all of this, I have been paying my bills on time. So they are willing to accept that as like instead of your credit score and credit report. So this is specifically for newcomers. And again, I don't know what's going to happen with the limit. Right now it's 1 million. Chances are it can go to 1.5 in December, but that's the rule that nobody really has the details on. So for now, under current rules, it's 1 million. And something else that I want to also talk to you about is down payment. So down payment is how much money you have. So how much money you are putting towards that home. So if you're buying something for 500,000, for example, you're putting down 50,000, the rest bank gives you as a mortgage. And because everybody wants to make sure that people don't default on their mortgages, there are rules as to how much minimum down payment you can put. So if you're buying under $500,000, you have to put minimum 5% down. So that's the rule. You cannot do like 3% doesn't count, 4.5% doesn't count. You can do 5, 6, 7, 10, or 20 or 30, but you cannot do less than 5. This is the confusing part that people have questions about. Property from $500,000 to $1 million, well, property up to 1 million, you put 5% on the first $500,000 and then 10% on the rest. So what that means is if you're buying something for 600,000, you minimum have to put 5% on the first $500,000 and then 10% on the rest 100,000, if that makes sense. And then if you're buying property right now that costs more than $1 million, you have to put 20% down. Or if you're buying a property that's not, you're not going to be living there. So if it's a rental property, it has to be 20% down. Be very careful, because we're all, I mean, you are newcomers. I am sort of recent. So a lot of people don't understand how strict the rules are when it comes to where you got the money. So you cannot just pull the money from your mattress and say, go to the bank, put it in the bank, and say, tomorrow I'm buying. Here's my money. Because what they need to know where you got that money. And they need to have a history. So you have to have, at the very least, there is one lender that accepts 3 months, 1 month. Most of them need at least 3 months and sometimes more. So they can ask for additional, sometimes they do. So what that means is that you have to prove them, you have to show them bank statements that this money has actually been in your account for a while. And the reason they do this is because they want to make sure you didn't borrow the money, that it's all your money. Because that basically, if you borrowed the money, that's extra liability, and they're not okay with that. And the reason I'm mentioning this in the context of newcomers is because a lot of people have money in their country of origin. So if you have, and there are a lot of, right now, there are a lot of regulations, more, there's actually a recent one as well for mortgage sector. So the government really tries to understand and make sure that the money that you're giving towards mortgage, it did not come from money laundering. So there are countries where it's really hard, like if you have money in those countries, like Iran would be a good example, for example, unfortunately, with all my love to Iran, but it's on lots of lists. So if your money is in Iran, it's better to bring it here sooner than later. The same goes to Ukraine, especially Eastern Ukraine. Like if you have money in Ukraine, just if you plan to buy a house here, just bring the money here so that it just sits in your account, because then like it will be really hard to prove anything. And there are other countries as well. So these are just the two that are right now top of mind. So just make sure that you know that. And the money can also come from the gift. So the gift cannot be from a friend. It can be only from your parents or your sister or brother, but it can be gifted as well. So they would have to sign like a document that says, this is the money, I'm giving it to my son or daughter or brother or sister. I do not expect it to be paid back. So that's the only way that it works. And while we're talking about this, I do want to talk about alternative options. So there are people who want to buy a property that's 600,000 and all they have is 5%. Or there are a lot of different situations. So there are companies out there who will co-own the place with you. And what that means is that they own basically part of your home. And then when you sell it, they take part of the money. So if, for example, you own 50-50, then when you sell it, it's 50-50 as well. If they own 60-40, that's the split as well. And you can buy them out like as you own the home. And there are a few regulations there as well. I'm not going to go into details. I'm just saying that there is an opportunity, and they will also help you with additional closing costs, which I will talk about. And then there are some other options as well. So the questions that I get sometimes is if somebody is an Uber driver or a Lyft driver, does it mean they cannot get a mortgage? No, it doesn't. You can get a mortgage if you're a driver or a Lyft driver if you meet all the requirements. And same goes for hairstylists, and same goes for beauticians, and same for handyman. So your occupation is not a the word is too complicated for me right now. It doesn't disqualify you from getting a mortgage as long as you meet all the requirements. And we can talk again because there are so many different lenders. There are like opportunities for different people to participate in these programs. So I'm just letting you know, if you like work for yourself, as long as you meet other requirements, you can be okay. Same goes for lower credit score. Like yes, 680 plus is a better scenario. 750 plus is an excellent scenario. But if you have 600 credit score, does it mean you cannot get a mortgage? No. Chances are you can, as long as you meet other requirements. And other things as well. Like we can talk about lower amortization periods so that you have lower payment and can qualify for more money. So there are all of these other things. But for this, it's very important to understand your situation. Like you cannot just basically say one thing and then before closing be like, oh yeah, by the way, my money is in Ukraine and I kind of like got it in Canada yesterday. I forgot to tell you. Like that's not gonna fly. Because it's really like the idea is for you to get a mortgage. And I do really want to mention, so before I mention closing costs, that with mortgage professionals, and it doesn't matter whether it's a bank, it doesn't matter whether it's a mortgage agent, you are not paying anything in advance. If you talk to a mortgage professional and they tell you, pay me $500 or $50 or $10 in advance, run away in a different direction. We are getting paid when you get your mortgage. If you call me tomorrow and we talk about your mortgage for 2 hours, and then you call me 3 days after and we talk more, and you get a mortgage 3 months from now, I'm getting paid 3 months from now. Like it's not an advance payment. Please keep that in mind, because I don't want anybody to get scammed. So this is very important to remember. And because sometimes people ask as well, so how much you pay? Sometimes you pay nothing, sometimes you pay something. It really depends on your situation. If it's a straightforward case, chances are you're not going to pay anything to the mortgage professional. If it's a complicated case, if you have like a lot of different things happening, there can be a % or two that you might be paying, but that depends on your particular situation. And again, never upfront. So just remember that. If you have to take one thing from this webinar, please remember that. Closing costs. So closing costs, and we're almost at the end. So closing costs is something that you need to have to close your purchase. And really that's extra cash. So when you come to the lawyer on the closing day, just to simplify, there is money that you will have to pay to the lawyer, and that's legal fees, and that's appraisal fee if appraisal needed to be done, and that's inspection fee. If you are having like an insurance, that we can talk about that later, but if you have insurance on your mortgage, you have to pay HST on that cash when you come to the lawyer. Land transfer tax, which is basically when you buy a property, you have to pay land transfer tax unless you are exempt. So all of these things, and usually it's from 1.5% to 4% of your mortgage is what you have to pay. So when you think about it, when you budget, if you have only $50,000 and that's it, and you know you're not going to get like anything plus minus 1,000 to that, don't put all of that into down payment. Just think about these extra costs that you will need to have, because this is like, you cannot put these into your mortgage. You have to pay them to the lawyer. And so only 2 things left. This we will circle back. So there are the government, initiatives, support, you can call them different things. If you have been in Canada for a few years, probably you have heard about RSP, which is your retired savings program. And under this, there is a home buyer plan. So what this means is that when you earn money in Canada, there is a limit that CRA defines every year that you can put towards, and this limit is not like, this money is not going to be taxed. You can put towards your retirement account. So from that money, if you have money in that account, you can use up to $60,000, just pull them from that account to use towards your down payment. If you were, so here's the beauty of it. If you were to pull that money just like that, you would pay 30% of it tax, just like on the spot, and then you have to repay it. But because of this program, they allow you to put that 60,000 without paying the tax. You just have to repay it within 15 years. And if you have a couple, and both of them, so you have to be a first-time buyer, but if you have a couple, for example, husband and wife, both have RSPs, then they can withdraw together 120,000. So that's quite a help if you have that account. First-time home savings account. If you are a first-time buyer, according to this, so rules are different. What is considered first-time home buyer for different of these things, but for the first-time home savings account, you can double check on the CRA website. But basically, if you have not owned a home in the last 4 years, you or your spouse, and you are 18 to 71 and a resident, you can open this account. You can contribute up to $8,000 a year, $40,000 max, and it's not going to be taxed. And on top of that, the earnings that you have, so if you're earning interest on that, it's not going to be taxed either. So it's a benefit for you. There is really, like, you can invest it in the bank, and you can invest it somewhere else. So it's really up to you. But there is actually an advertising that I see sometimes, a commercial from Questrade saying, hey, we have this account. It's really not just a Questrade account, okay? This is a government initiative. So they're just like spinning it into their commercial, but just know that it's something you can use. And land transfer tax rebates. So I do want to mention that for this one, it's different. If you have never, ever, 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 ever in your life owned a property anywhere in the world, you can be eligible for the land transfer tax. And it's quite important because land transfer tax, depending on how much your property is, it can be like 6, 7, 10, whatever $1,000. And if you are buying a home in Toronto, so not Scarborough, not Richmond Hill, just Toronto, it's twice as much. So it's really expensive because there's like an extra surcharge for Toronto. So if you are qualified as that first-time home buyer for this, you can get that rebate. So that's really good. I do really want to highlight that lawyer is your friend. If you're not sure what you qualify for, because a mortgage person is not going to be able to tell you whether you're a first-time home-time buyer or not. I mean, we can look at it and sort of assume, but we're not qualified professionals to confirm or not confirm. Lawyer is the person who would tell you that. They are sort of the authority on that, similar to your work permit. So again, if you're on work permit, you can say that to your mortgage professional, and we will sort of try to take that into account. But the lawyer is the only person who will tell you how much tax you will be paying, because it really depends on the situation. So that's pretty much. Oh yes, I just wanted to mention this. This is sort of not information, but food for thought. So a lot of 1-bedroom, 1+1 condos in Toronto or in GTA area are about $2,500 a month for if you wanted to rent it. If you wanted to buy, and this is obviously like very approximate numbers because your rates and everything depends on your situation, but if you were, for example, looking at a 1-bedroom condo for $400,000, which is, you can find stuff for this money, and you have, for example, 10% down, so 40% down payment plus money for the closing costs, you can potentially be paying $2,200 in mortgage payment, plus there is a property tax that you pay if you're an owner of house or condo, and plus there is something called maintenance fee, which depends on the building and on the place. So if we assume that your property tax is $150 a month, which is like $2,000 a year, a little more, and your maintenance fee is $500, you are sort of in the same bucket. So as long as you have that $40, $50, $60,000 saved, you can start looking at buying so that you're not just paying rent like into nothing. And I know a lot of people, so again, everybody decides for themselves, like everybody reads news differently. Everybody has a very different tolerance for risk. So it's really up to you. There are a lot of people that think it's good to buy right now because the market, especially for condos, like the sales market is really low. So it's an opportunity to get a better price. So I'm just mentioning that, but everybody sort of has their own situation. So it's up to you. So that's all I had. If anybody wants to get in touch, I do have a website. It's on the slide. There is also a QR code, so you're welcome to book an appointment with me. I will be happy to chat with you and sort of review what your situation is and what your goals are, and whether it's a good time for you to get a mortgage, and maybe there's something else that you can do, maybe save a little bit more or something like that. So that's it. Thank you, Svetlana. Appreciate it.
Give a round of applause to Oksana. Huh? A lot of information. All
Very
good
well
stuff.
done.
Any questions, guys? Any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Who has a simple question? Who just arrived to Canada? Had no idea what Oksana is talking about. I'm just kidding. Mariana, what is the question? Nima, Olu, Olahor.
Sorry, I see a question in the chat. Can I use my GRPP for the down payment? I'm contributing in that account with the company that I work with. So I'm assuming that this is the pension account that you contribute to with your employer. I would check with the company that manages it, because I know that for some companies, they actually don't allow you to pull that money while you still work for the company. So it depends what the rules are. So for RRSP, the government one, yes, if you qualify. Sorry?
It's okay. We're just muting them. It's all good. Okay. Did we answer the question, Catherine?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Selena. Thank you.
Yes, beautiful. Anybody else has any questions? Victoria, let's go. Let's go Africa. Where's my African ladies? You have to own a piece of land. Let's go. Jeff is laughing. Alihor, let's go with the question. what is the most common question? You're a financial advisor. What do you have? What is the most common question or the challenge you get from the field dealing with newcomers
Oh,
regarding mortgages?
I can ask myself a question that I get a lot from people who don't really like, who are new to the market and they don't understand. The question I get is, can I sell my home? Like amortization is usually 25 to 30 years. So the question is, so it means I cannot sell my home for 25 years? Like if I buy a house or a condo? No, you can. So it's not if you're that's your amortization. It doesn't mean that you're stuck there for 25 years. You can sell it. Everybody does it. You just have to do it in a smart way so that when you break your mortgage, you don't pay any fine. So that's the only thing I would consider. But it also depends like on the mortgage that you have. So when you're getting it, you have to tell the person, like your mortgage professional, that you're planning, for example, to sell it in a year. Like that's important information to have. But as a general rule, yes, you should be able to sell it. So it's not a stopping thing. So question, we need to pay more tax to the person who have work permit as compared to PR. Yes. So again, as a general rule, if you have a work permit and you have more than 183 days left on your work permit, you should talk to a lawyer and see if you need to pay the speculation tax, what is called, which is really non-resident tax. If you are a PR, you will not be paying that. And I also got a question recently, what if I applied for PR, but I haven't gotten it yet? So that doesn't count. You have to have a PR. Like even if you applied for it, that's good, but you have to have it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I am new in Canada. Do I need to buy the property as an investment or personal property? And how long must I stay before selling as investment? So yes, you can buy as an investment property as well, as long as, again, you like qualify and everything, as long as you understand your situation with the taxes. With investment property, it's usually 20% down payment, even if it's something that costs like $300,000-$400,000. And how long before selling? I believe there was something about extra tax if you sell like shorter than a year, but I think it's in BC right now. I'm not sure about Ontario, but all of this you can double check with the lawyer. Like they can, because that's sort of their domain. They should be able to tell you. But yes, you can buy as an investment property if everything else aligns. Does the land transfer tax also apply to condos and apartments? Yes. Yes, it does. Thank you. Does these rules and expenses also apply to buying land for agriculture and farm? So that's a complicated question. I would suggest if you do, because it's a different type of lender that does anything commercial. So it's not just agriculture and land, but anything commercial. It's a very different process. It's a different type of lender. So if this is something you're interested in, just let me know, and I can walk you through it. Just because it's sort of, it's not that it is more complicated, but it's also very different. So we would have to see. 5% valid for personal property. Yeah, if you mean owner occupied, yes. So if you want to do 5%, it has to be owner occupied, which means you will be living there. And it also has to be under $500,000 for minimum 5%.
I think we did good. I think
Thank you.
I think that we need to go. We need to let Oksana go. And
I do want to, so before we go, I do want to mention to everybody, because this is something I always mention, every situation is very, very different. So everything that I told you, this is general information for your general knowledge. This is not like an advice for your particular situation, as much as it might sound like that. So if you have specific questions to your situation, just please make sure to talk to me or a different licensed professional, because this is average general for information only. So I just want to make sure that you understand that, because it's a complicated process, and I want to make sure you get the best care that you can. How many lenders do we have there? So there are lots and lots and lots of lenders. Our brokerage, I think, has 40 or 50, but there is really a few core ones. Like you can have, like, if somebody has a very specific, like somebody asked for the agricultural land, like, yes, we can find somebody very specific, but really in the market, there are maybe, like, in Ontario at least, there is maybe like 10 that are do most of it. And then there is everybody else for specific requirements. Lots of talking.
So anybody who wants to have, so you do offer a discovery call and 10 minutes consultation, right? I mean, follow that QR code, right, Oksana?
Yes.
Following that QR code, you land to Oksana's landing page, and you would be able to
Book the time.
schedule the time, yes, for the call with Oksana. So she'll and yes, everything that we do in Canada is very customized, right? I mean, it's not, and it should be like that. You all have different goals, you have different desires, different, so it should be customized. I mean, this way you're looked after properly, because
Yes.
it's one of the biggest decisions you're going to make in Canada is purchasing real estate, and it's like having the right lawyer who looks after your immigration papers. And actually, I learned something today too. It's very important to have the right lawyer who is looking after your real estate stuff. I thought actually this information is coming from mortgage agents. I didn't even know that it has to come from lawyers. Very, very interesting.
Learned something too.
Very interesting. So we need to bring real estate lawyer into the team.
Oh.
Any real estate agents in the room today? Any realtors? Because we wanted to connect you with Oksana, because I don't see a lot of people. I know that Fumi is here and somebody else, but I'll connect you, Oksana, through email with a couple of realtors, because I just talked to them right before the webinar. And please have a healthy, beautiful dinner. Give big smiles to your children, husbands, pussycats, whoever you have in the household. Always be grateful for the opportunities that we have in Canada. Don't be stuck. I mean, you always have friends at Immigrant Women in Business. We'll always find the time. If Oksana can find the time, I can find the time. We'll redirect you to other founding members. Jeff is very knowledgeable. We'll always find time for everybody. I know Gagandeep is still looking for placement. We'll help you, Gagandeep. It's all good. That's okay. And be persistent with us. That's okay. If you want something from Oksana, you see how fast she talks, right? Because she deals with a lot of things. So it's all the leaders, right? So if you see somebody is not replying to you, don't think, oh, she's not replying and waiting. Oh, she's probably busy. No, you call Oksana, you send you again the message. I'm right here. I'm waiting for your reply. Put 7 messages. Okay, she would know that you really need
It's urgent,
help,
yes.
and you're urgent, so she'll call you right away. So that sense of urgency in Canada works very well, the strategy, right? For us, for leaders, it's very important that I really see that the person is really taking action type of person, right? So that's who we like to deal with, because instead of thinking and thinking, overthinking, let's put it together and let's make it happen. So that attitude serves very well. And Oksana, thank you once again for giving opportunity for newcomers to learn about beautiful future that they can create, and potentially wealth through real estate. And I do love my financial freedom in Canada, and I suggest everyone select the path for yourself to create financial freedom in this country. Especially, it's very important for women. You live in a world of gender equality in Canada, women empowerment, we have human rights, but without looking after your finances, it's not going to work very well in Canada. Please make sure you select the path. If it's not business, then it's investment. If it's not investment in business, in stocks, then you do real estate investment, but select the money wealth creating path for yourself. It's crucial right from the get-go when you come to this country. Okay, get educated. Yep. Fantastic. Thank you so much, guys. And we'll see you
Oksana,
very soon. Yes, Jeff.
Oksana, your presentation was so beautifully done and so probably like so much information. The question I have for you though, how long did it take you to get it down?
How long did it take me to get the presentation done?
Yeah.
That's a good question. A few